I'm Supermoon Tarot, and I'm joined today by my BFF Mon Mon. And today we are talking about the Akashic Records, which I could not be more exhilarated to talk about. That place makes my heart sing. I'm currently going there quite a lot. I would say I'm probably going there around 8 to 10 times a week, which is a lot even for me. But I'm currently working on something, and so I'm gathering as much knowledge as I can for it, and this will be talked about another time. But I wanted to say that if I see enough support for this video, if this video receives enough support through, likes, comments, all that positive jazz, views, and stuff like that, I would really love to make this a series if you guys are as equally interested. And that would entail greater detail, any additional questions you have about the Akashic Records that I'd be happy to answer, but also the Akashic Records basically is like an enormous library of all knowledge ever. I cannot stress that enough. So I can go there and get any knowledge that you possibly want and then bring it back and make a whole video about it. And that just seems like a cool explorative thing that we both can do. And to inspire your mind, you can think of it as one of the first books I went and got was Ego. That's what the first one was. That was wild. I did not anticipate what they said about ego, and it makes me view people who have a very egotistical nature or suffer from, I just bumped the mic. Sorry about that. Or suffering because ego takes many different forms. It made me have more sympathy and better understand how you can help or deal with that or whatever. Because ego is not just somebody who's, egotistical. And it was just very enlightening. So anyways, but also before I get into this video, I'm going to put down in the description below 3 different potential topics that I can talk about next week. Some genius person a video or two ago suggested and said that I can pin multiple comments because unfortunately YouTube polls are gone. I don't know why they took that away. And so just put a little thumb up so that comment gets more views and I understand which one you want me to tackle first. I will be, at some point in time, doing any one of these topics, but just let me know what you're more interested in hearing right away. 3 topics. 1, angels. Yeah, they're real. It really surprised me the first time I experienced them. I will talk about what they look like. Just like this video, I will contain drawings and stuff like that. I will talk about their personalities, my experiences, all that jazz. 2, cord cutting. It's not a thing a lot of people talk about if you're not commonly aware of the terminology, and it is extremely useful when you feel like you're having an emotional reaction to people and that type of jazz. You know what I mean? I can go into more detail about that, obviously. And 3, and this is one you've heard me mention a couple times, spiritual surgery. I love that subject. I have experienced some of my most, I guess, enlightening, I don't mean to be redundant, enlightening experiences, but also learned so much and seen so much. And it's a very weird, I think it's a very good, interesting story, as much as it was an interesting experience for me, and I've done tons of them. So those are your 3 topics. Now, on to the Akashic Records. So the Akashic Records, essentially it is a big old library, but it's infinite. It holds all the knowledge in the universe ever. And it's great. It's actually a great place to go if you don't know how to travel to these other places or how to specifically gain your knowledge, and you can just literally look up the exact book and just pull it out and read the knowledge. Now, I do want to be clear about this. Any single person is welcome. Person, let me make that broader. Being that exists anywhere in the entire universe is welcome to that knowledge. You do not have to be good enough. You do not have to have a goal or believe enough or be worthy enough. Anyone's allowed to it. So just understand that, so that if you want to go explore it yourself, you're welcome to. Go enjoy yourself. So now let's get into my experiences. So when you first start experiencing the Akashic Records, you do not have to enter a building. It's just very common that people will see some form of a building and they'll go into that building and then that will be the place. But it's not uncommon to just suddenly be within the library. Now, when you first see the Akashic Records, your mind is trying to co-create with the spirit realm something that you can accept and understand and maybe you've even seen before. To give you an example of this, the first time I started experiencing the spirit realm, mine looked like the church from the end of Mario Odyssey where Bowser and Peach were going to potentially get married, and I was very confused. But I was like, what? And then when I went and I was even more confused, I was at the Akashic Records. I have traveled for other people and seen their Akashic Records. Normally when you go to Spirit Realm and I'm helping someone out in their Akashic Records, I'll normally see mine, I get the information, and I give it to them. However, if it's necessary for them to know, the other person, for them to know their Akashic Records, I have been shown theirs. And like one time I saw like a building that I would most closely compare to Skyrim, so video games seem to be very common. Anyways, so I go into the building and it looks like a long hallway. And there's just tons of empty bookcases for a very long while. At the end of the hallway, I can see there is an arch. And that arch is implying there is something outside of this hallway. I can tell it's like a balcony or something. I can see there's maybe even some upper and down floors, but I never really went back there. So when I first started going to the Akashic Records, I went because for past life healing. I've done a lot. If you would like a video about past life healing, I would be happy to do it. I have done a few thousand for me alone. I'm busy healing up in here. And you can also go there for past life healing when you have issues with someone else. Again, I can do this all in a past life healing video. Sometimes you unexpectedly have issues from a past life with someone else, and you can clear this, and it will prevent them from just for unnecessary reasons being kind of like short with you, or maybe more angry. You're like, why do they have a problem with me? And it's like, could be unseen past life stuff. So when I went there, due to all this healing, it was a sort of a developmental process. So I would say the first like 40 to 50 past lives that I was like going through, it looked like this. It was empty. There were some scrolls in the corner, and there was just no one there. In fact, interestingly enough, my spirit guide would take me to it. I would enter it alone. They wouldn't be there. And that table would just have a scroll open, or a couple scrolls depending on how many past lives I had to heal. And they would be for the past lives, and then I would go into the scroll, experience the past life, and then when I was in the healing segment of the past life, my spirit guide would pop up again, we'd heal it, and then I would leave alone the scroll, and then I would leave where I first entered through the door, the Akashic Records door, one of the doors. We're going to get very meta here. And then my spirit guide would meet me again. But this developed. So one day I came in there, and it looked a lot different. The walls were much more decorative and had a more clear design to them. And there were these like arches up it. It went into like a very rounded dome shape. The bookshelves were suddenly filled with scrolls, jam-packed with scrolls. And this is where it gets more surprising. So whenever I went, it was empty. I think one time ever I saw somebody else, they looked human, sitting on a faraway table. And that was one time. I didn't really think anything of it or even contemplate the fact that I was always alone. And when I went and entered, I was greeted by, and I have to use this very loosely, being that works there. There are beings that work there. They confirmed to me that when you go to the Akashic Records, you are in the 8th dimension, which is wild. It's really that easy. Who knew? To travel over there. And these beings would help me do the past life healing, where they would pull out the scrolls, and they would even tell me to do the scrolls in particular orders for particular ways of healing it and everything like that. They have asked me to draw them very ambiguous and not to kind of go into any more detail. That's all I'm like allowed to talk about spiritually. So they'll just look kind of like ambiguous beings here in the drawing that I have. But as you can see, there's more detail, there's more pictures. There's even more detail than this, but give me a break. This already took a little while to doodle. I can't sit there forever, but this is pretty much the idea of what it looks like. Well, one day I'm healing. This is so after like 40 or 50 past lives, suddenly the hallway is much more detailed. I see beings walking around, so on and so forth. Well, one day, I get shown like how to read information besides my personal past life stuff, and it was a book, and it was the ego book I told you about. And they opened it up for me, and then they like left and did their own thing, and I was like, how do I read this? Because being able to read new information like that is an actual skill. And at the time, I just did not have it. And guess what? The Akashic Records genuinely wants you to know this information so much that it will give you the information however it's easiest for you. So the book spoke to me, and I heard a voice come out of it and explained information to me, which I thought was really cool. Then after that experience, this is all in the still same visit or trip or whatever you want to call it, the being said, would you like to look down the hallway? And I was like, yeah. And so when I went down the hallway, this is, you're going to see like a drawing over here. I saw that the way the Akashic Records is set up is it's like this giant dome in the circle. And this is where the different layers are on top. And when you look over this balcony, this circular balcony, you can look down and see all the different layers going on. And then through this circular thing, there are tons of archways, just like mine was to enter my hallway, but that those hallways don't always guarantee that they're just going to end very shortly. Like mine wasn't that long of a hallway. Some branch off, and then there's like mini chambers in there. I wouldn't say they're chambers like open chambers like this big one we're talking about, more just like a circular shaped room and then more long hallways kind of all branching out. Now when I looked down the balcony and I could see infinity upwards and downwards, each level, this is where it's going to get really wild, each level is for a different species. So that way we don't have any spooky creatures popping up at the same time like a human is healing their past life. That could be too much for people. That's kind of my train of thinking of why they have it set up like this. But when I looked down, I could see just a layer for angels. I could see just a layers for, we're just going to define them simply as spooky creatures, because middle world beings can range. Some people just blanketly have certain terms for them and be like, they're evil. But they have a row too. And this is where the being continued saying that the Akashic Records is open for all. All are welcome to this knowledge. Even beings that you'd be like, they could use that knowledge for bad or blah, blah. No. They're all allowed to evolve and grow and become better versions of themselves. And sometimes that road to growing isn't going to look the way you think it would look, or your road, or, so on and so forth. So I thought that was terribly interesting. This is why, if you can see in, I'm going to put a drawing up over here. This explains from like a bird's eye perspective why many people say when they see the Akashic Records, it just looks like a bunch of fractals. It's because, if you look from a bird's eye perspective, you see the big chamber, then you see all the breaking off part hallways, and then if you look at that, it's stacked because there's many levels, and this is where you get the kind of weird meta looking thing people would look at if they didn't have the library sort of assistance, the way it looks appearance wise, for your brain to go, oh, I'm taking in information, oh, I'm seeing other beings, oh, okay, I understand what's up and what's down. So this has developed because that I was just going through a time period where I was doing a lot of past life healing and getting that all sorted out. And then I more was going there for just general knowledge. So this changed. Now when I enter, I'm just there. And this sort of entrance, it was all gold, and a lot of the Akashic Records in the other parts I've been in have a lot of symbols that I don't know how to explain this. It's like when I see it, I'm seeing it, but when I go to try to write on a piece of paper, like my brain has a hard time remembering all the details. I'm going to just simply say sacred geometry to make it like as simplistic as possible. So this sacred geometry is like all over the place, and there's these eyes drawn on the wall, and it's all inlaid. Now this is where it's going to get really trippy. This is where it gets really wild. So one day I was walking in and I was getting information, and I saw my footprints press into the floor and kind of temporarily hold and then go back up. And the way the floors looked in my area of the sort of library when I first went in for past life healing was like marble. Sometimes it was wood, like hardwood flooring, but mostly it was marble. And in this area of the Akashic Records, it's like all gold, like shimmering gold, lots of gold. And this is what my spirit guide said. This is so wild. The Akashic Records is a living being. So when you're entering it, you're like in an alive thing, a thing that's like has, can think and feel and is allowing you to see all of its knowledge. And it really loves for you to see all of its knowledge, which I think is really cute. So sometimes, now that I know that I when I enter, I'll be like, hello, like I'm just like, hello, how are you? One of the eyes that are inlaid will like come to life and like look at me. And sometimes if it's particularly excited about an epiphany I had from knowledge, the books will sort of rattle or shake as a form of like vibrative happiness. So when you go there, say hi, acknowledge it. It probably would love that. So anyways, going further, now I'm at a point where I'm no longer seeing scrolls, I'm seeing books. So this is the segment where they're books. And this is where it gets more interesting. Remember how I said in the beginning there was no one there at all? Well, when I'm in the part of the Akashic Records, I don't know if that's just based on when I first started traveling, my brain couldn't fathom other people, so I just was not shown it, or if it's just the area I was in, because I was in my own little personal hallway with my own personal past lives, but there is hallways where it's more general knowledge. I'm just going to keep it loose like that, general knowledge. So more people would be interested in that type of knowledge. And there's a lot of people there. I see people all the time. I can see all the details. I actually have seen the rogue, celebrity would be like a really loose term for the type. They wouldn't be super well known. It'd be like someone you recognize from like a commercial or something like that. But I have seen people there that I do kind of recognize. And just in general, I see people of all ages, all that jazz. And again, I'm on my human level, so I see all human. But this is where it gets really cool. When I go, they cannot see me. They do not seem to react to me. They don't seem to react to each other. I think they might be alone potentially for themselves as well. They don't really seem to notice one another, but I can see all of them. So like when I'm at a table and I'm like sharing that table with like a ton of other people and they have their books open and, I'm with my spirit guide and we're reading and stuff like that, we can talk out loud and we're not affecting anyone or bothering anyone. So that's cool. And there's usually like, again, like big chamber and a big table and then like long, thin hallways that are really tight and there's just like bookshelves on either side and maybe people are sitting in like little divots of like stools and stuff like that and reading or whatever. Now this is where the books get more detailed. In the Akashic Records, there are like the books open and they take on like a whole new life. Like one subject I was particularly reading involved the concept of layers, and I could see through the book, and the book had like see-through opaque layers and stuff like that because that had to deal with the subject. So the books will take on properties of the subject that it's talking about. But the most common thing I see is a sort of square picture giving an example of whatever it's talking about, and this thing will sort of pop up like a holographic image kind of hanging mid-air, and it will, and this is where it gets really cool. So like if you need to look at something that can be perceived in different ways depending on how close up it is or how far away it is, you can actually like, it will still stay there, but then you can like zoom in and then zoom out and then basically see the subject from different angles depending on if it's like a tangible physical subject, if that makes sense. So I thought that was really cool. And not only that, but it's kind of interesting if you have trouble reading it at first, like I feel like a little kid. My spirit guide would like read to me and like basically paraphrase like this is what it's saying, and then I've gotten to the point now where like I can read it. But in addition to all this knowledge and past life stuff and stuff like that, I also have seen my karmic contract there, and I've seen others' karmic contract there. That is another place where you can fix your karmic contract, which is really important. Again, I can make a whole nother video about that because, fun fact, your karmic contract might have said that you broke, and you're like, man, why am I always broke? You can go in there, you can change your karma contract, and you can be abundant and make tons of money and so on and so forth. So it's really cool. I love it. Anyways, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I left out. that's, I guess I'll just re-mention that when you're in the library and these other sections, when you look up, I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. It's huge. And if you're ever like, how do I get a book? You can just either ask your spirit guide or ask the Akashic Record, and they'll throw the book down for you. So it's just really easy peasy. Yeah. That's everything. Let me know. What do you guys think? Is there something that you're particularly interested in learning? Is there any other questions? Please let me know which of the 3 topics you're interested in. I would genuinely love to know your reaction to all this, because it is very meta. And I gotta be honest with you, this is just the beginning. I've kind of been trying to test and feel and see how you guys are open to this, because there's a lot more, and I'd be happy to talk about it, and you guys seem responsive, so I kind of am feeling like we have a very exciting road ahead of us. Anyways, let me know, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, maybe even share and all that jazz. I am wishing you the best. Tell me when you go to the Akashic Records, tell me what it was like for you. I'd genuinely love to know. Bring back knowledge. You gotta when you go there. See you in the next one. Bye! Oh, Mon says bye!